If you're using Google Maps on your website, the chances are at some point you're going to see this. What actually is that showing? So it says it can't load maps correctly on the page. Is it an issue? Well, I'll tell you why it happens. So basically since 2018, Google have been charging for the Google Maps service. Does that mean that you're going to have to pay money for it? Not necessarily. So the way it works is this uses the Google Maps API. So an API is an application programming interface. It's a way of which your website can interact and use the Google Maps service behind the scenes, if you like. So what's actually happening then is Google is telling us that it needs to set up a billing account. Now we can actually check to see what the actual error is, and there's a simple way to do that. So any page in which you're going to see this error, simply right click, then if you click on the inspect option, which you should get if you're using the Chrome browser, you should see a few different tabs here and a whole lot of source code. That's the stuff that we make. If I then go to console, we can actually see here in red, there is an error, which is actually telling you what we need to do. It could be one of 2 or 3 different messages. Sometimes it's you need to activate your account or something along those lines, but it's always going to be account related. So the first thing to do is to make sure that you are logged into your Google account. Then if you click on the option, and I can see here that it says that what we need to do is enable billing, I can click that option. It takes us into the Google Cloud Console. Now I've already got a project set up here, but I've deliberately chosen an account that doesn't have an awful lot on it. What it's going to ask us to do is to set up a project. Typically we might name the project after the website, and then it's going to ask us to set up a billing method, then to activate the account. Now, one thing to be clear with here, what Google does do is it does give you a threshold of free usage, which, to be perfectly honest with you, is more than adequate for most websites. But what Google's trying to do is put in place a situation where, let's say, for example, you've got heavy usage of Google Maps or any of its cloud services, it knows where to pass the bill on to. So if you're the next Rightmove and you've got millions of searches using Google products a day, it knows where to pass the bill to. Whereas for a small website with relatively light usage and say even up to 100 users a day, you can be more than fine with the free usage. So let's get started then. The first thing we're going to do then is we're going to create a project. So typically I might name that after my website. So let's imagine I'm www.whatever.com. We've got no organization here, but we can set that up as well. Next, you'll see that we've got no active billing accounts. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to create myself a billing account. Okay, so I can see from the screen now, the next thing to do then is to create an account. The account, typically I might name after the name of the organization. We can see here that we add in the organization details and then billing details down the bottom here. We then click submit and enable billing. That will then set up the billing account. Next, you'll need to verify that it's you. Okay, so that's all set up. What you might want to consider is setting up a budget alert. So that's a threshold that you can put in. So if it's going to spend any more than a certain amount of money, it will then notify you. It could even be as little as £50, just so you know that it's going to be charging you anything. So let's imagine you did a big campaign, you were pushing people to a page that's using Google Maps, and it was particularly busy, which is a nice problem to have. You'd probably want to know if you were going to pick up some cost off the back of it. But like I said before, if it's going to be a small website, the chances are you probably won't. Next, go to the main menu here and go back to Cloud Overview Dashboard. Then go to Explore and Enable APIs. Then next click on Enable APIs and Services. We're going to want to enable the Maps JavaScript API. Click on Enable. Next, it will ask you for your billing account. Literally select the billing account and click Set Account. You might get something like this, in which case you can choose to cancel that or fill in that if you need to. Once that's filled in, it will give you something called a API key. Make sure you copy that, so that will copy to the clipboard, and very important, keep that somewhere safe. So we're going to need to use that on the website. Next, if I click to go to Google Maps platform, we can restrict the API key. What that means is we can restrict it down to a certain domain name. That's quite an important thing to do. The reason is because if someone got hold of that API key and put it into their website, they could be using your service and potentially rack up a big bill for you. So what we could do is we could restrict the API key. So what I'm going to do in this case is just put HTTP referrer website. And if I literally just put in, say for example, star. If I use the example here, so star.fl1digital.com/star, it restricts it down to fl1digital.com. The star dot basically means that it's going to be http://fl1digital.com or www.fl1digital.com. It will basically accept either of those. The / and star, that basically means any page after that. So it will then restrict it for the home page or the contact page. The star is a wildcard. It basically means anything that comes after the /. So that will then restrict it. Or if we just want to get things up and running, we can click the maybe later option. So I'm just going to restrict that key down. So that means that this key can only be used on my website. Okay, so that's now all up and ready. So we've now got ourselves a key, we can monitor that. And it's important just to remember which Google account you use to register that key. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that you've associated your credit or debit card with this account. Of course, they come to expire. So the chances are in anything up to 2 years' time, if that card expires, what will happen then is you'll get that same error again. What you will find though is the error message will be slightly different. It's basically going to indicate the fact that you need to update your billing method. So it'll be more or less the same process. Go back into the Google Maps console, pick it up, update your billing method. It also just wants to make sure that it's got a valid, up-to-date Waiter card. So generally speaking, it's going to be one of those two options. And once that's all set up, then that will clear that error. You usually find it's about 10 minutes or so. And then when you refresh the page, it will kick in with your new API key and it will all work. One thing just to notice though is that API key, once you have it, you just need to send that over to us. We can drop it into the website, make sure that it's using the correct API key. Any questions at all? Get in touch.